Gilbert, thank you very much for being here. I'd like to bring back to you the point that was made by Trump and Musk in terms of their support for Zelensky. Do you think that this is a clear shift now in the US and their support for either side in this war?
It's a shift in the US policy, but it's not a shift in the thinking of Donald Trump. Everything that has happened in the last 7 days was very closely coordinated and had one purpose: to keep the war parties of the EU and of Ukraine away from the peace talks, because the participation of any of the EU countries and institutions, or the participation of Mr. Zelensky's group, has only one purpose: to foil the creation of a peace treaty that will be signed and is durable. There is no confusion here. Mr. Trump understands perfectly that the mineral deal is a non-issue. The mineral deal is there to be rejected by the Ukrainians, so that Mr. Trump can say they have not expressed an interest in peace and in a final settlement. Just as the questionnaire sent to the Europeans, how many troops they will put up to enforce the peace if one is signed, was not serious. It was serious for them. It was serious for Washington. Washington wanted them to fail. They failed. And therefore, there's no reason for them to be present at the peace talks. There is no confusion in the mind of Mr. Trump and his close advisors. What each of them is doing, whether it's Waltz or Hegseth or Witkoff, it's all perfectly coordinated with everything that Trump is saying.
In terms of Russia's desire for a peace deal, is it something that you think is sincere? Hundreds of drones released overnight, killing so far 6 civilians in Ukraine. Also a continued fight on the front lines. Why is it in Vladimir Putin's interest to sign a peace deal when it seems on the surface that his army is doing better than the Ukrainian?
Well, it's not on the surface. It's all the way down to the bottom. The Ukrainian army is not destroyed. The Ukrainian army is not humiliated or on the point of running from the battlefield. I want to be perfectly clear in saying that there have been successes on the Ukrainian side in recruiting the young, newly admitted to service generation of 18 to 25. The Ukrainians do have arms. The Biden administration shipped them massive amount of arms before it left office. Therefore, the Ukrainian situation at present is not hopeless, but to continue it is to destroy the Ukrainian nation, because, as you say, the Russians have a preponderance of force, and there's no reason for them not to use it. When you are in this situation where there's no peace negotiation, there is no reason for you to stop fighting. And the Russians are pressing that point, that the only logical action for Ukraine is capitulation if it wants to exist as a nation, and if it wants to have a demography that is sustainable. The Ukrainians have lost more than half of their population. It was a 40 million man and woman country. It is now an 18 million man and woman country. If this continues, it will be a zero population country, as Mr. Trump clearly stated. Time to stop fighting, and the first to make the move will be the Ukrainians by getting rid of Mr. Zelensky and his war party.
Gilbert, I want to challenge you on a couple of things that you said there. Volodymyr Zelensky has been talking about engaging in a peace deal for some months now. Also, he has said that he wants to be part of these talks with Russia. So in that instance, is Zelensky not looking towards a peace deal? And would it not be helpful if he was part of discussions with Russian leaders rather than being put on the side?
We have seen all of his so-called peace initiatives over the last year. His idea of a peace deal is that the loser, Ukraine, will take all of the advantages that the winner expects to get. He wants to impose reparations. He wants to impose a withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine. He's behaving as if he won the war. Those so-called peace terms are not peace terms. They are unrealistic, totally unrealistic. They are delusional. And the only victim in this is the Ukrainian nation that is bleeding because of Mr. Zelensky's tenacious hold on power. To look at opinion polls in Ukraine today is meaningless when they have no free press, none. The only journalists who existed for the last 2 years in Ukraine were on US aid money. As they say, they were propagandists paid by the Biden administration. The Ukrainians have had no chance to look at the reality facing them on the ground and in the world at large. Therefore, their opinions are unfortunately underinformed, and they are not capable of responding to BBC journalists who ask them what they think about Zelensky. The country is at the breaking point, and Mr. Zelensky doesn't give a damn. He will be happy to see more millions die so long as he holds power. That is
Alexander,
not tenable.
sorry to cut you off, Gil, but we only